with a dog is if the human is sick at the same time as the dog. So to be honest now, when I get a difficult dog, I always ask the owner, how are you feeling? Which is, I mean, why? I know nothing about human health, particularly, except it's similar, I guess, but it's usually because the dog is manufacturing bacteria for the human, and they change it through horizontal transfer
Oh my
to,
God.
to act as an anti kind of inflammatory for the human. And autism is the worst. Autism, the dog man, they pass Stutterella between the two of them. So you can't treat a dog with Stutterella unless you treat the human at the same time.
Sorry, my jaw is so dropped. I have to pick it up for a second. That's
Yeah,
amazing. I mean, also your post today that I saw, you say that everybody's sharing the same
yeah,
microbes. So when somebody leaves the house, or the makeup of the family changes, that changes the biome for everybody.
yeah,
I mean, that's just like
yeah,
unbelievable. I mean, I suppose that's not always a bad change. It can be a good change too, but it takes adjustment, right? And that can
yeah,
change
yeah.
emotional
I
stuff.
think I think that through COVID, because we did a lot of studies through COVID, the change in the microbiome was scary between the dog and the human. The horses didn't change, but the dogs did. The cats didn't change, oddly enough, but dogs
Oh,
seem to be particularly susceptible. And it was either that the dog was making things to make up for the loss in the human biome. We couldn't get to the end of it. We just couldn't get to the bottom of it, except they were sharing. Human had a typical biome, and it was either because they'd had COVID or the biome was protecting them against COVID, or it was because you were over sanitizing or you were isolated. I'm not sure which one it was, but there was a
right.
particular profile during that period that the dog shared with the human.
And did you see changes in the dog's like behavior or profile or well-being in any way because
Well,
of that?
it
Or
took us a while because this at the time we were working with a lot of vets, and they were sending their samples in, and we were looking at this and thinking, "There's no way this is a well dog." But because it belonged to a vet, it was actually really quite hard. You had to be very careful what questions you asked, and we didn't ascertain that the dog was ill with COVID, so we could kind of say, well, it's not that, but why the microbiome profile was the same throughout that period. It had changed. I mean, because we've been doing it since 2014, so we know that it will, when it does change. I don't really feel we got to the bottom of it particularly, but we are aware that that's a possibility. When you get a set of circumstances, the
yeah.
microbiome changes. But what's interesting to me at the moment is this anti-inflammatory production of something that isn't really in a dog biome, but is in a human biome for inflammation. So, we're just going to look at that now and
So
see.
tell us a little bit more about that. That's interesting.
But I do think that if the human isn't well, the dog will help. Um, and you can see it in the profile because you've got something in the Bacteroidetes. It's always the Bacteroidetes that change, and it's a human bacteria. More, I mean, it's very rare in the dog. We've got obviously a
Yeah.
huge database, so I can sort of look back and look through, and it just isn't known. It's not related to diet, but you can get something like 40% of the biome will be this anti-inflammatory bacteria that belongs to the human. So it's obviously either the dog is manufacturing it or the human is giving it to the dog. But
I'm just fascinated to know what changes that does to the dog. That's like, how does that affect the dog's sort of well-being?
I think it drops the diversity. The biggest thing is it drops the diversity down really low. Do you want a guinea pig? Yeah, oh gosh, yes, look at that.
Oh yeah,
Do you
look
know,
at
I
that.
think there's so many people though in that zone, aren't there, really? I mean,
Oh yeah.
when I'm ill now, I always look at my dogs and think, okay, perhaps
Well,
the best
I
route
just
to
had
go.
COVID.
I've no.
I just got COVID and I do have an inflammatory thing too. So I'm just like, that's why I'm like, what? Is everybody okay? I haven't seen anything going wrong.
No. Well, that's it, isn't it? You know, and it's kind of a shock then when you've got an owner and you kind of go, well, yeah, I think the autism one was the interesting one. I'm kind of gently explaining to this person that her dog, who's a sort of care dog, I don't know what the proper name is, but was actually carrying had a biome that was linked to autism. And she said, well, I am, you know.
That is amazing. That takes animal mirroring to a whole different level. That is just, wow.
Except when you think about how close you are and what horizontal transfer is and how vibrant an ecosystem is, I'm not sure, it doesn't surprise me anymore. I think.
Oh yeah, I don't know why it should surprise me so much, but it's just never occurred before, and it is, yeah, we're in the same space, doing the same thing, you know. Yeah, fantastic, amazing.
Yeah, I would say the anxiety is similar, yeah, for sure. Well, horizontal transfer is just by touch, breath, anything that you do in the space of an animal, except dogs do it to humans. Cats do it a bit, but not as much as dogs. For some reason, dogs seem to be very close. And it's just the way you transfer and you share your microbes, either from your hands, breath, touch.
Sharing the bed.
Yes, sharing the bed. There you go. We're all guilty of that one.
Yeah. So but you don't see it in horses with people?
No,
no.
No.
I wonder if you live very closely with your horses like we do.
I do, but
yeah. Okay.
No. I think they don't. They have just
they have more distance.
Yeah, difference there.
Yeah, it's interesting that it's dogs and not cats and horses.